in LA this week.
We see so many homeless people, and we all think something needs to be done about this, but then it's wonderful to see that something is being done about this.
We're really dedicated to expanding choices for people, to make sure that people have more choices to get around so that they're not sort of fated to be stuck in traffic gridlock in a single occupancy vehicle.
For me, as a mom, I wanted to show some affection and appreciation for all the other moms that are in the struggle alongside with everyone else.
Happy Mother's Day!
Hello everyone, I'm Natalia Bilbao, and here's what's happening in LA this week. The city of Los Angeles kicked off Asian Pacific American Heritage Month with an opening ceremony that included Public Works Commissioner Jessica Caloza and council members John Lee and Nithya Raman. The ceremony focused on why APA Heritage Month is so important and recognized this year's RISE Award recipients.
I'd like to welcome you to the opening ceremony for the City of Los Angeles' celebration of Asian Pacific American Heritage Month.
This year's celebration is especially significant, following a year of increased attacks and hate directed at the AAPI community. It's been an incredibly difficult year.
If the events of this last year have taught us anything, it is that we must talk about the AAPI experience. We must learn our history and we must tell our stories because our stories are part of the American history.
I am so excited now to introduce our 2021 RISE Awards.
I am deeply humbled and honored to receive this RISE Award from the City of Los Angeles during Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. When I was 17, I moved to Los Angeles to attend USC, and the moment I did so, this whole world opened up to me. This city, one of the most diverse on earth, just welcomed me with open arms and introduced me to a vast array of cultures that excited, inspired, and enriched me.
First of all, thank you so much for giving me the RISE Award for Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. It's such an honor to share our story with the entire community. I believe if we know each other more, we will be closer friends.
I'm thankful for our fierce and powerful API community, and also so thankful that in this moment, the API community isn't alone, that we look to our left and look to our right, and we see our friends, our allies, our partners standing with us in solidarity, in unity, in allyship. And that's exciting because it shows who we are as a state.
We need to work together to address what's happening in our communities. We need to develop these comprehensive solutions. It is only when we come together and partner that we are going to stop AAPI hate.
I love this kickoff and celebration, and I also see it as a call to get really active and involved. Now is the time, and what a blessing. This is super dope. I love this. Thank you guys so much. Major love. Thank you to everyone.
Reopening Los Angeles means the return of shared public resources. Recently, council member Mike Bodner and the good folks over at Metro LA cut a new ribbon to relaunch the Metro Bike Share program in District 11. Take a look, or take a ride.
Metro, working closely with the City of Los Angeles and its Department of Transportation, today announces the relaunch of its Metro Bike Share system here on the West Side.
We're really dedicated to expanding choices for people, to make sure that people have more choices to get around so that they're not sort of fated to be stuck in traffic gridlock in a single occupancy vehicle.
Este es un programa que fue diseñado para las personas que no tienen mucha experiencia en este tipo de programa. Es el primer programa que existe en la ciudad de Los Ángeles y en el condado de Los Ángeles, y el diseño del programa es para que todos lo podamos usar.
Venga y utilice las bicicletas, son de fácil uso. Tenemos 54 estaciones que estamos reabriendo y vamos a agregar 13 más en toda la parte oeste de la ciudad de Los Ángeles.
This is a huge step for us in getting off fossil fuels and relieving congestion here in Los Angeles.
These are safe ways to get around. They are the ways that our essential workers got around to keep all of us going during the last year. And we owe it to them and to ourselves to continue to support these clean and equitable investments in our city. 2, 1.
Even in Los Angeles, the issue of immigration status deters many in our communities from getting the aid and services available to them, like getting the COVID-19 vaccine, for example. So CHIRLA, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, and the Consulate General of Mexico held a pop-up vaccination event to encourage people in the Hispanic community to get vaccinated.
Una de las armas más poderosas que tenemos para poder regresar a la normalidad, para acabar esta pandemia, es la vacuna. No existe otro medicamento que pueda salvar nuestras vidas como la vacuna. Por eso es que nosotros aplaudimos los esfuerzos colectivos que está haciendo la ciudad de Los Ángeles para traer ese acceso a las vacunas a nuestra comunidad. Parte de este programa es que estamos llevando estas vacunas sin hacer citas, sin preguntarles a las personas sobre estatus migratorios. Lo que nos interesa más que nada es que toda la gente se vacune.
For the Consulate General of Mexico in Los Angeles and the Ventanilla de Salud, it's really important to have these vaccination clinics in collaboration with CHIRLA in Los Angeles City, because we need to eliminate any barrier for our Hispanic community to get vaccinated. We know the impact that this virus has represented for our community, and we want them to have opportunities to stop this spread.
First, I asked about my options, meaning brands, shots, and I convinced myself that it doesn't matter which brand it is. I have to get the shot to end this pandemic and be able to take care of my loved ones. I feel safe now, actually. It makes me feel relieved that I finally got it, and looking forward to getting my second dose.
Most of our Hispanic community has no legal status here in the country. They have essential works. They couldn't stop, so they kept working, and that meant that a lot of our people died or maybe had real difficulty with the virus. So that's why it's really important for us to support the efforts of vaccination.
Que no hay que creer en esos mitos, que hay que venir a vacunarse, porque eso es bueno y así podemos parar esto, para que de una vez por todas se acabe, ¿no? Y podamos ayudar a los demás a que ya volvamos a la normalidad, ¿no? Y recuperar lo que hemos perdido. Que muchos perdimos dinero, perdimos trabajo, y ahorita con esto hay que vacunarse, ¿no?
As one of the communities hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Pico Union Project has been diligent in holding its twice-a-week food giveaways, providing families and residents with what relief they can. Recently, healthcare provider Curative joined them in a day of giveaways and added the opportunity to be vaccinated. And Channel 35 was there.
This is a COVID vaccine site this is I think our 7th time we've been a COVID vaccine site. This is one of the hardest hit districts in Los Angeles, over 1,300 deaths from COVID. Every week we distribute food to about 2,000 families on Friday and Tuesday.
We are here today at the Pico Union Project. We're vaccinating approximately 300 people. The community has a food drive, and so we are just trying to encourage them to get vaccines with the Johnson & Johnson today, which is a one-and-done shot. We're excited because it's a safe vaccine, and much safer to get the vaccine than to get COVID.
The moment right now to do it, because our health is better than anything else. There is nothing to compare to.
I think events like this do so much for the morale of the community. I think having people from the community lifting their neighbors up and their neighbors seeing them putting in the work it's a beautiful thing, especially in the middle of a really tough year.
Here in Pico Union that's been severely impacted by COVID-19. This is a place, ground zero for us, that we want to respond, and we want to mitigate some of the impact of the pandemic by being here and providing food and vaccines.
Vaccines are easy to find now, and we're encouraging everybody to do it 16 and up. So we hope you come out and get vaccinated.
Councilmember Kevin DeLeon was on hand to honor a beacon of the Asian American community. Lawyer and civil rights advocate Rose Ochi was remembered this week in Little Tokyo with a street named in her honor. Check this out.
Rose Ochi, without a doubt, was an Angelino and Japanese American civil rights champion. Rose and her family were uprooted from their Boyle Heights home just to the east of us across that bridge and imprisoned at the Rohr detention camp in Arkansas. When her family came back and resettled in East LA after the war, Rose graduated from Roosevelt High to UCLA to Cal State LA, and ultimately she received her law degree from Loyola Law School here in the great city of LA.
Today we honor the accomplishments and contributions of a remarkable woman. Rose's entire life was dedicated to ensuring equity and justice for all.
Yo me siento bien honrado de estar aquí para compartir algunas palabras muy breves con toda nuestra gente aquí, particularmente nuestra gente Japón americana aquí en Little Tokyo, aquí en la ciudad de Los Ángeles, para celebrar una gran mujer, una gran lideresa en Rose Ochi. Today we proclaim that here in Little Tokyo we have today Rose Ochi Square, dedicated to this woman, to this pioneer. 3, 2, 1, 0!
This is the center of the Japanese community from before the war. And I think, oh man, that's just out of this world, you know.
We jump from honoring a trailblazing woman in District 14 to a Latina trailblazer, similarly celebrated for her efforts towards equality for her community. Councilmember Curran Price oversees the groundbreaking of the Dolores Huerta Apartments in Council District 9.
I'm so excited that you're here to join me as we present the Dolores Huerta Apartments to our CD9 community.
We know that this is a dream come true for so many of us because as we travel our streets and we see so many homeless people, and I know we all think something should be done about this, but then it's wonderful to see that something is being done about this.
Most permanent supportive housing takes 5 to 7 years to aggregate the capital, to close the financing, and to complete the construction. Our model, it's 20 months. And I'm thrilled to say this project, from the financing to the closing to the end of construction, has reduced that by even a third more, to 13 months total.
Because of our efforts, we're going to be back in the fall to celebrate our ribbon cutting. And that's how we fast-track housing here in CD9.
Once the site is up, we'll be providing intensive case management for those who are interested in mental health support, substance use support, and really making sure that people have established social connections.
Never before has a developer built permanent supportive housing on city-owned land with private funds from the private sector. What we're doing here should be a model of how to tackle homelessness for this great city of ours and the state of California.
I'm very grateful for all of the work that you're doing, and yes, we can make it happen. Sí se puede. Gracias. Thank you.
Mayor Garcetti celebrates National Small Business Day at an East Valley restaurant. District 15 holds a vaccine event, and City Attorney Mike Feuer sets the record straight on evictions. These stories up next on City Beat.
Mayor Eric Garcetti visited Farm Table Restaurant in the East Valley in commemoration of National Small Business Day.
One of the things that I've asked our City Hall to do and proposed in our budget to our City Council, which they're voting on right now, is to cut costs for businesses, to reduce red tape, to reduce those fees and those permits that sometimes stand in the way of getting something stood up again.
The mayor championed LA residents for supporting small businesses and discussed items like the permanent expansion of al fresco dining.
We've got a great budget that will help us give recovery checks, comeback checks we're calling them, to 5,000 businesses of $5,000. No questions asked.
The Cabrillo Marine Aquarium staff rolled up their sleeves for a giveaway event in District 15.
Cabrillo Marine Aquarium has been closed, just like everybody else, due to the COVID crisis. So we've tried to do things throughout our time off to help our community. We've had a couple blood drives, and today we're doing a food distribution event.
Southern California Gas and the energy corporation Valero were among the sponsors of the event. Providence Little Company of Mary Medical Center was on site to offer COVID-19 vaccinations. The event was also supported by the Wilmington YMCA and Councilmember Joe Buscaino. A federal judge has issued a sweeping ruling that would revoke a pandemic eviction moratorium put in place by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. But the city of Los Angeles is proudly doing things differently.
You might have heard of a recent federal court decision that struck down the nationwide eviction moratorium. Let me be clear, this ruling has no impact on California's or the city of Los Angeles' laws that protect tenants, and those laws are still in effect.
In his weekly Message from Mike, City Attorney Feuer reasserts that the nationwide eviction moratorium is not an issue for LA or California residents due to local protections.
If you're an LA city tenant and you believe that your landlord is violating local or state law, you can contact the Housing and Community Investment Department's hotline. That's at 1-866-557-7368.
With the impact of the pandemic gradually subsiding, the awareness of pre-existing epidemics in our society has begun to resurface in awareness. One such epidemic is the tragic rise of opioid addictions. Maria Hall-Brown sat down with DEA Special Agent in Charge, Bill Bodner, to discuss the prevalence of overdoses and the dangers of fentanyl.
The CDC reported over 81,000 overdose deaths for the 12 months ending in May of 2020. That's a tragic scenario, but here to help us understand what's going on, I am delighted to be joined by the DEA Special Agent in Charge, Bill Bodner.
The root of this problem was 15 years ago, Maria. We started with an opiate epidemic that was really driven by prescription drugs. But what's happened? We have these people that are addicted, and they've turned to the black market to get prescription drugs. And unfortunately, these black market prescription drugs contain fentanyl.
And the amount required to actually kill you is minuscule.
Tiny. It could be 2 milligrams. 2 milligrams. 2 milligrams could be enough to kill you. And in these pills, the dosing is very inconsistent. So even if you knew what the drug was, which many times people don't, they think it's something else, but even if you knew what it was, it's still so dangerous to take because you don't know the dose.
Legitimate prescription drugs. Twice a year, the DEA sponsors what is called, take back. People have meds in their house, and if somebody no longer needs them and they have an excess of them, that is a problem as well.
It is. I mean, as I said, if there's one thing that I hope we learned in the early days of the opiate crisis, it is that whether we're talking about a national scale or the micro scale right in our own homes, excess drugs can lead to recreational drug use, and that can lead to addiction.
And if people want to learn more about what's going on and what's happening with the DEA, what's the best thing?
The best thing you do, you follow us on Twitter here in Los Angeles at DEA Los Angeles, and our website is dea.gov, and it will have everything on there that you need with regards to DEA.
Well, keep up the good work, Special Agents. Really, really fascinating to talk to you, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
LA City Treasurer Diana Mangioglu, who handles the finances for LA, gave us an inside look at the 2021 budget and how the federal funds from the American Rescue Plan will affect Angelenos. Check it out.
As treasurer for the city of Los Angeles, our responsibility is to serve as the custodian for all public funds. The mayor's proposed budget was released on April 20th, and it assumes $1.3 billion in American Rescue Plan dollars. And what this essentially does is that it doubles the budget for homelessness, It helps replenish the budget for city departments, and it also increases the city's reserve levels, bringing it up to a historic 11.3%. In terms of tools and resources that we're offering LA City businesses are all available on our website. For those startup businesses, we have the LA Business Portal, which has basic information and resources. And then, of course, we have our monthly e-newsletter that's available for our businesses that includes up-to-date information on programs that are available through Office of Finance and other city departments that benefit businesses. This year, we launched our virtual public counter program, which essentially allows anybody with a computer and a mobile phone to have a face-to-face interaction with our customer support specialists. We are looking to launch our financial literacy workshop. Finance is really looking to target the city business community, basically our business tax base. We will be working with our council offices to identify how we can tailor these workshops for specific needs throughout the city.
Just like clockwork, Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez is spending another weekend giving back to her constituents in District 7. This past weekend, the Councilwoman observed a time-honored tradition of giving out flowers and thanks on Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. Well, we know how mothers have been struggling through the course of this pandemic, trying to balance the needs of taking care of their family, providing the child care service, tutoring for the kids in school. They've had to wear all the hats. So for me, as a mom, I wanted to show some affection and appreciation for all the other moms that are in the struggle alongside with everyone else. It's really important that we do our part to celebrate and uplift the contributions that moms make throughout our communities, and this is a small way for us to be able to do that.
Every event she makes is very, very good, very helpful. She likes to help people, and we're very thankful for her.
Pues me gusta que haga esto porque hay veces que no lo reconocen y es buena idea que aunque sea una vez al año nos den algo.
My mom has been such an important influence in my life, and you know, she has been one of the best examples of someone who is just selfless and providing unconditional love and support. And I'm incredibly grateful to still have her, still have my grandmothers, and I look forward to celebrating with them.
Happy Mother's Day!
From the summer of unrest sparked by the death of George Floyd to the disturbing rise of hate crimes against the Asian American community, the outcry for racial justice and equity is louder than ever before. In our feature this week, we take a look at what Mayor Garcetti is doing to address racial equity within city offices as well as the Los Angeles community at large. With the appointment of Brenda Shockley, LA's first ever Chief Equity Officer, Mayor Garcetti shows that those outcries have not fallen on deaf ears. Anita Bennett has the story.
Last summer, Los Angeles, like so many other cities, saw massive crowds take to the streets demanding racial justice. The catalyst for that call for change was the police killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Now, Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti listened, and he appointed the city's first ever Chief Equity Officer. The woman who took on that role is Brenda Shockley, the city's Deputy Mayor for Economic Opportunity. She is with us today to discuss LA's Racial Equity Action Plan. Ms. Shockley, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you for having me.
So what is the city's action plan?
Well, the city's action plan is rooted in the mayor's Executive Directive 27, which was issued after and during the wake of the demonstrations. The racial equity in city government is really what the Executive Directive focuses on, as well as the contracting, where the city spends well over $1 billion in vendor contracts. Organizations and businesses of color have been identified as really almost de minimis in terms of the amount of money that the city is spending.
But addressing these issues, there are critics who will say, well, this is affirmative action that the city is trying to do. So how do you respond to those folks?
To those same people, the advantages that you and generations of your family have received as part of the largesse of being an American, that same consideration and the righting of those wrongs, those things that were done to others in order to increase your wealth, that has to be addressed, that has to be corrected.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Deputy Mayor Brenda Shockley, and best of luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Celebrate Loomis Day Viva Poetry with the LAPL. Check out the 2021 Asian American Expo or settle down with some Tales of the Silk Road. All this up next on Things to Do.
The LA Public Library invites you to the annual Loomis Day celebration. Known in Northeast LA as a multicultural festival of ethnic flavors, community arts, and music, this year LAPL brings you its version, Loomis Day Viva Poetry. You'll be treated to the works and creative process of two celebrated poets, 2009 PEN Emerging Voices Fellow Erica Ayon and Ramon Garcia, author of Mandorla, New Writing from the Americas. Reserve your spot now for this awesome poetry event happening Sunday, May 23rd at 3 p.m. Visit lapl.org/events. The Asian American Expo has gone virtual for 2021 as we celebrate the Year of the Ox. The ox is defined by the characteristics of calmness, patience, dependability, and inspiring confidence in others. And like the ox, the Asian American Expo is promoting the values of social distancing and staying safe by presenting the festivities on a digital platform. Celebrate Asian Pacific Heritage Month and the Year of the Ox with the Asian American Expo. Visit AsianAmericanExpo.com. The LA Public Library is back online with another installment of its Creative Artist series, LA Made. This week, explore Tales of the Silk Road, multicultural music for a multicultural world. Enjoy traditional and new music from indigenous instruments of India, Japan, and more. This LA Made program is made possible with the generous support of the National Endowment for the Humanities. Be sure to check out Tales of the Silk Road, multicultural music for a multicultural world. The performance streams on the LA Public Library's Facebook page and YouTube channels. And that's a look at some virtual things to do.
That's it for this edition. I'm Natalia Bilbao, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacitywiew.org. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.